Hello again. I'm just going to read once again 2 Chronicles chapter 7 verse 14 just to begin with. God says, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves, will pray, will seek my face, will turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven, I will forgive their sin, and I will heal their land. Wonderful promises. Yesterday we looked at the first part that we have to do, and that is to humble ourselves. We have to acknowledge that God is the creator and sustainer of all things, and that He does not revolve around us, but we revolve around Him. Today we're looking at the second part, and the second part is that we are to pray. God wants us to pray. It's God's will for us to pray. Now then, an incredible move of God happened on the Isle of Lewis between 1949 and 1952, just after the Second World War, just after the world had gone through a terrible event. There were two old ladies, one was 84, the other was 82, both of them were blind, Peggy and Christine was riddled with arthritis. Both of them were physically in a very bad way, and yet straight after the Second World War, they decided to seek and pray to God like they'd never done before. Now, Lewis at the time was barren. The churches were empty. There were no people in there, particularly no young people. However, Peggy had a vision. And in this vision, she saw that the churches were packed full of people, particularly young people. And the Lord gave her a promise that He would pour out streams of water onto those that were thirsty. And off the back of this vision, she went to see a local minister. And it's recorded what she said to a minister. Listen to what she said. She said this: "I'm sure, Mr. Mackay, that you are longing to see God working. What about calling your office bearers together and suggest to them that you spend 2 nights a week waiting upon God? Mr. Mackay, you've tried missions. You've tried special events. Have you tried God?" Now, this very humble minister took these two old ladies up on this, and they decided to twice a week to meet together and for quite a few hours to pray and seek God's face. And they did. They all did. And there were various meetings on the Isle of Lewis, but nothing really happened. Months went by, and then there was a meeting in a barn full of straw, a fair few people in there, and 1 or 2 elders in there too. And after quite a few hours of praying, a young man stood up and started to read Psalm 24. "Who shall ascend to the holy hill of the Lord? Only he who has clean hands and a clean heart." And this young man suddenly cried out to the Lord, "Lord, are my hands clean? Lord, is my heart clean?" And he fell into a trance on the floor. The whole place went silent. And when this young man fell into a trance, 3 of the elders followed and they fell into a trance. Now Duncan Campbell, who would be the main preacher in this revival, hadn't even turned up at this point. This was before they even had a preacher. And he describes this event. And he says to them, "Please don't ask me what it means by falling in a trance." He said, "I have no idea. All we know is that when this young man fell to the ground, broken in spirit, and 3 of the elders with him, that heaven opened up on the Isle of Lewis, and God came down and visited that island." The impact was instant. It didn't take days, it was instant. Within hours, there were locals that never even went to church, that were compelled to go to church and to go to people that were Christians. The impact was holistic. It was over the entire community. And within days, there were crowds outside of churches, even in the early hours of the morning. And they wanted to know about God. This is what happens when people really begin to pray. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about the next point. And the next point is when we begin to seek God's face. See you then.